Welcome to .NET Conf Day 2.
Woo!
So exciting yesterday to see .NET 10 released, Visual Studio 26 released, Aspire 13 released, all these great new releases.
Azure's going wild, uploading all the servers to make sure it's there.
Yes. Speaking of .NET 10, you're trying to get .NET 10 rolled out to Functions right now?
Yep, we've got it going really fast with Linux, and Windows will be there soon too, so it's all rolling out.
And if you want to try Functions today, you can basically just use Container Apps. You can actually run Azure Functions inside of Container Apps. In that case, you can host your own version of .NET, and so you can run whatever version you want to run. So you can run Functions on .NET 10.
Containers, you can always do the latest.
Today.
Yep.
So Paul and I are going to talk a lot about how you use .NET with Azure today. We'll start a little slow and just kind of build up and hopefully have some craziness at the end, like we've done every year doing this.
It'll be the smoldering burn, and then
I heard we're going to load test and destroy some stuff.
Something's going to break. It's going to be great.
It's going to be awesome. If you switch to my computer real quick, I've got a barcode that anybody can scan, and it's got links to most of the stuff we're going to talk about today.
All of our demos and resources and whatever.
We'll bring it up again at the end of the talk as well for people to go take a look and see stuff. But I want to start with how Aspire works with Azure. And so I'm going to start basic here. We'll just build an Aspire starter app here. And this is the new Aspire command line. Maybe I'll bounce this up a little bit. And this is the equivalent of the old starter app. And so I'll say yes to that, and we'll do CSH demo maybe today. So we'll do that. And I kind of like this, Paul. I can now choose my output path, so I don't have to be in the folder. I can actually just do dot if I want the current folder, or it'll make the directory for me here and put it inside of that. I'm going to choose the latest bits. So if you're crazy, you can go on to dailies and stable now as well. No, we'll use a cache for sure.
I think you and I both over the years, we've gotten back to our command line roots. What did you say?
I think we are.
Yeah.
So if you're a Visual Studio person, I think Paul and I love to start with command line, because at the end of the day, that's what Visual Studio is running behind the scenes for you, is it's doing it all at command line.
And you can copy and paste.
You can copy, paste, all those kinds of things.
Yep.
So let's just go into CSH demo. And one of the new things that's kind of cool here, Paul, is the Aspire command can actually find the app host. And so in the past, you'd have to be in the right folder to run .NET Run to run an Aspire application. But the first time you run the Aspire command in a new Aspire 13 app, it'll go find stuff for you.
That's handy. I've always found myself not quite in the right path, the right route.
So let's just start here. I'll show another Aspire 13 feature I really love is we're all about Azure today. So we're going to talk about how you take these applications and get them running inside of Azure. And so here's the app, and we'll just, go away. And that can go away too. Aspire is all based on infrastructure as code. And so if you look at my screen here, I've got my app builder. I'm adding a Redis cache to it. I've got my API project, and I've got my web application. To actually get this into Azure, I have to tell it what compute resource am I going to run this in. Am I going to be in like an AKS? I'm just going to be or a Docker Compose, or I'm going to be in a container app. Paul and I both work in the org that makes container apps, and so I love AKS, but for me, most of the time, I don't need that much infrastructure for what I want to do. I just want to go build some simple apps.
It's got the features without all the concepts, I feel like.
And so to make this work, the first thing I've got to do is actually add container apps to the app. And so in the past, I would have to go and find the NuGet package to do that. But I can just type Aspire add now. And notice the first thing it did there is it said finding app host. It went and found the app host. And when it did that, it actually created a .aspire folder. And you can see it actually, so that's how the tool
knows.
It's
demystifying it. Yep.
It's demystifying it. So we want to, today as we talk about all the stuff we're going to talk about, we want to show how it works as well. I don't believe in magic, and so Aspire feels magical sometimes, but I want you to see how it all works. And so
we don't just have a solution file gluing things together. You actually have an orchestration project, right?
And so notice here that I can just scroll down, Paul, and just choose app containers. This gives me the Aspire hosting app containers. Before, I would have had to known to go add that NuGet package to do this. Once again, we'll do latest. That's done. And so if I go look in my project here in my CS proj, you'll see it sucked that right in there.
Nice.
So it's kind of cool. You can just do Aspire add. It's already kind of limited down to the Aspire packages that exist, so you don't get the full NuGet. You get just the stuff that matters for
Got more in control.
what you want to do.
Yep.
I'm not going to copy a bunch of code. I'm just going to paste code today. So, and so I'm going to go add this to my app. And this is basically what that package just turned on. So this is basically a chunk of code that says container app environment, builder.add Azure Container App environment. And what I could do with this is, if I want to change any of the settings, container apps, the way they work is you have an app environment, and that's basically kind of the big, what would I call it?
It's like the cluster.
It's a cluster. Yeah, it's a cluster of containers. And so putting this in my code tells Aspire, if I'm going to publish, I need to go and make one of those things, and then I'll take everything inside of this application and host it as a container inside of that. So let's go do that. We've already done that. And so, I think we've all seen this before. Let's just make sure I have it running. I do. I can do an Aspire run here. And once again, it's going to go find the app host because it knows that .aspire file had that thing inside of that.
So I can run directly from Aspire now.
Run directly from.
I hadn't picked up on that.
That's cool. This is super good stuff.
Yeah.
Small things.
Yep.
But I think it's, if I think of the .NET team and the Azure teams, what we're good at is taking these small things and fixing them. As you'd expect, the app comes up. Big thing to think here is, that Redis cache, that's running in Docker. And so if I go back and open up my Docker, the Redis is running right there. And so that's one of the key benefits of Aspire is for most of the stuff, we have a great local run experience inside of containers, and we've got a great publish experience into Azure. I'm going to show a couple different things today. What if you don't want to actually use the cache locally? What if you want to take one you already have in the cloud? You and I are working on a project together. We want to share a cache. We want to share a database.
That's more real world anyway. I might have it pre-created, right, for me.
I want to show that. So, but as the cache is here, if I go look at a couple of the things on the cache, I go into view details, I can see some stuff that we don't want in the cloud. So let's go down here and let's find some Redis password. So I just showed the Redis password. I can make it bigger.
Oh, there goes the farm.
Oh no, so please screen copy this. It's only on my machine, so it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
But notice that I have the ability to see this stuff.
Yep.
If I put this in the actual cloud, I don't want this to happen.
No, you don't want anything persisted, right?
I want I don't want this stuff in my project. I don't want it in the cloud. I don't want any of those things. And so I'm going to kick off a publish here in the new world. And so we'll stop this.
By the way, Jeff Fritz is probably back there sweating.
And I've already got one of these published balls. So
okay.
I'm not going to wait for it.
Yep.
It might take 6 minutes. We don't have 6 minutes to do that. So I'm going to start an Aspire deploy. And then you're going to notice there's a bunch of cool things. I'm not going to go deep in this today, but there's a whole new pipeline architecture in Aspire. And that pipeline means now when we're publishing, it can be creating multiple resources at the same time.
Nice.
So it doesn't have to be in a serial, create this, create this, create this, create this, create this.
Sometimes it matters, but a lot of times it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
So you'll get a faster deploy time with the new Aspire.
Well, that's awesome.
So I'll select my tenant.
I assume you just had lots of sleeps in there. No, but this is better.
And so I'll type Scott, which will find my subscription. And we'll select, let's just scroll down. There's too much West, so it's easier just to scroll down. I'll do West US 2. And resource group, sure, that's fine. Now notice that using Azure CLI credential for provisioning.
Nice. That's
So
the default credential.
That's the default. So what that means is I actually have, if I go to my command prompt and I type AZ, this is the Azure command line experience. It's using the default credentials that I've signed into AZ for this.
It's your user identity.
It's my user identity.
Yep.
And so it's starting to work. Now I don't want to wait for all of it to finish, but a couple questions you might ask. I typed a few things in.
Yep.
I typed in my tenant, I typed in my subscription, I typed in my region.
Yeah.
Where's that?
I have no idea.
You
It's
have
magic.
you have no idea. That's magic.
I want to control it.
So I want to talk about magic today. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go and let's go look in here. Or actually, I'll just do it from command line. Easier.
I'm getting too old for magic.
So I'm going to go to my root folder here. And inside of here, I'm going to have a .aspire. And inside of .aspire, I'm going to have a deployments. And inside there, I'm going to have a couple of these because I've deployed a couple things recently, but the newest one is at 9 a.m. I can just open VS Code here. And we can
decipher that.
We can scroll into here.
Yeah.
And look at this. This is all the things that I just typed.
Huh.
And so you might ask, if you're watching this, why is it over here?
Yep.
We don't want this stuff in your project.
Never. Because it'll go into your repo.
It's going to go into your repo and all these types of things. And so Aspire is purposely taking all the stuff. And in this case, you're welcome to see my password because I'm going to delete all this stuff afterwards. But this is the password that's going to be used in container apps for the Redis cache that's going to boot up. There's my location, my subscription ID, all the stuff you saw there. There's also a way to, if I go back to command prompt, I could, I need to be in the right folder. Let's go here, go back to source. Part of the point of the talk today was to actually kind of show how this stuff actually works so you understand what's going on. So let's go to CSH demo. And I can run aspire deploy -- help. And there'll be a command here called clear cache. And so if I decided I wanted to erase all that, you know, what if you've done a test deploy and you want to deploy to a different location or whatever? You don't have to go know about the magic folder.
So that's like my state. My state for Aspire.
It's your state. And so you can just go and say Azure deploy -- clear, and it'll wipe all that back out, and your next deploy command will reset the entire thing. So that's pretty cool.
I mean, I know environment variables, it kind of feels like that, right? Yeah.
So here is one of these that I had already published earlier. You know, you can see it go all the way through here. Same stuff we saw before. And let's run VS Code over here. And I want to poke on one more thing. Let's go take a look.
That's better. Now I can look over your shoulder.
Let's also say, let's go look at secrets. And so this is interesting as well. So, so user secrets are a feature of .NET that's been around since we started the .NET Core journey 10 years ago. And you can also see that there's some stuff here as well. There's the open telemetry key is going to be here. There's an MCP API key here. There's a version. So this is some of the information that's also being used by Aspire as well. So I just want to show you all the hidden stuff. So there's an Aspire folder in your user folder. Inside of it, there's a deployment folder that contains all the information. This will be super interesting as we go a little bit further. So let's, I want to make sure you have enough time. So let me jump back over here. This is probably almost done, but we're going to, actually, as I said that, it's doing the container apps. Let's go take this one that's already running. And what I will do is I will go see it in the cloud. So let's go take a look at this one. So we'll go to my portal. And we don't care about that. You're dead. And let's go look at the one that I already deployed. So that will be, which one is that actually? CSH demo app host, that looks right.
Maybe a little bigger.
And yep, make it a little bigger. And all I'm really going to do here is I'm going to go to my main container app, my web front end. And the Aspire dashboard is integrated with the portal as well. So I can open the Aspire dashboard. This is the same app you just saw. So super simple app. But I want to go and highlight one of these points again. We showed earlier, Paul, that, well, there's a couple of cool things here too. You've probably not seen this before. Notice that I have multiple there's two of these.
Yeah, you're right.
So one is the public endpoint
Okay.
The next is the actual container app revision.
Oh, nice.
And so if I actually republish the app, you'll see it activate a new revision and then deactivate the old revision.
I could kind of understand there's a little bit of a proxy or a gateway in front.
These are the
As
gateways in front, and now the
taking out-
dashboard is showing you the gateways in front, not just the stuff behind.
Nice.
And this is a feature of container apps where every time we publish a new version of your app, we make a new revision. You have the ability to go backwards in revisions. And so you could publish a revision without having to republish the app again. You could just go into the portal and kick yourself backwards if you wanted to.
Roll forward, so to speak.
Yes.
Yep.
But let's go take a look at, we saw earlier some of those credentials were just hanging out to be seen. So let's go take a look again. And let's go see our Redis password redacted.
Love it.
So if I'm going to actually have the Aspire portal or dashboard inside of my resources running in the live cloud, I can't have these things be visible because I might say, Paul, go work on this application, make this application fix a bug or something like that. I don't want you to see these things.
Sadly, a lot of problems are inside.
And so in the newer dashboards, you can see that all this stuff is now redacted. You might be asking, why do we even have, why is there even a password? And that's because we're not using an Azure service for the Redis cache here. We're just actually, we have 3 containers. We have the front end, we have the cache, we have the API backend. In a perfect world, I would probably not use my own container for Redis because I want to
use this.
I want to use a PaaS solution where we are managing that whole thing for you. And so
there's a lot that goes into managing you don't think about.
You don't think about. You might ask, what goes into managing? Well, what if there's a new version of Redis? The managed cache will automatically move you to the new version of Redis, and in the process,
somehow keep my state there.
Your state won't disappear. So think about security. So if there's a security issue in Redis, you don't have to worry about that.
And scaling, all that kind of stuff.
In Azure, we do have things where, in some cases, the fabric of Azure has to move things and change things. The managed Redis will actually see the messages from Azure that's going to happen. It will move your cache somewhere else, and you'll never know that happens. And so there's a whole bunch of goodness that happens there. So let's go see what that would look like. So this is actually probably finished. It did succeed. I'm not going to go look at it because we don't have enough time. So let's jump over here to this one. And let me show another one of these things here. I'm going to close this out. I'll close that out as well. And let's load VS Code in this thing. This is one that I actually already finished. And it does a couple of new things. First off, if I go and look at my packages, I did add another package here. I added the Aspire hosting Azure Redis. That means I've got the ability to actually have a Azure Redis, not just the Redis container that exists. If I go back and look again in my app host, I've done a couple new things here. I've commented out my original cache, and I've added 2 parameters. This is actually how you store stuff between various containers and stuff inside of Aspire. And I've replaced the builder.add_redis cache with builder.add_redis enterprise cache.
Nice.
So that means I'm moving from the open source Redis package to the Redis that we have inside of Azure. Now, I've got a bunch of things that I put in here, and I want to explain what all these are. First off, if I ran this today, I'm going to ask you, what do you think it'll do?
It'll...
Let me just comment all this out.
You're going to comment it out. Add Redis Enterprise. It's going to try to stand it up for me?
That's exactly what it's going to do.
Okay.
So if I run it...
That's what I was wishing it would do.
If I try to do this, it is going to stand one up in Azure for me.
And that takes time.
It's going to take 5 or 10 minutes to do that.
Yeah.
And that, if I can have it 2 ways too.
It's going to do with defaults, and I don't know if those are the defaults I want.
Correct.
Right.
What I want right now is I want to do this. Paul and I are working on this together. And so I'm going to do .run as existing.
Nice.
So what that means is when I run it locally, it's going to go run using the existing one. And so I've actually specified one of these, and let me go and poke, and I'll show you what I've got up here. If I go to Azure Resources, I've got a Redis cache here. Here it is, already provisioned.
Nice.
For authentication.
Maybe even had an admin who set it up like exactly so, and so you're kind of using it the right way.
Exactly. So it's all set up that way. And we might, if we're developing in a group, we might have a Cosmos database, a SQL server.
Yep.
And we don't want to each have our own containers because we have real live data in there as part of testing our application.
Yep.
And so this supports that exact scenario where I want to run this thing using that existing one.
So if I get like you've outlined your dependencies, and now you're just kind of swapping them out.
Exactly.
Like across environments, and there's no connection strings, no evil stuff I'm seeing here.
So let's talk about that. That's an interesting part as well. One of the cool things about Aspire is we're always doing the best practices for you when it comes to anything like security. And so you saw before that when I'm running locally, it's fine to go see the password because it doesn't really matter because it's on my machine. As soon as I move to the Azure cloud, then suddenly everything's obfuscated for me. In this particular case, I've kind of got two scenarios.
Yeah.
If I run it locally, it's going to still require a user because managed identity doesn't really flow all the way down to my machine very easily.
That makes sense.
And so it needs to create a user for me. If I publish it, it's going to then put full managed identity and do all the right stuff to make that work.
Whether it's a database or AI, you need some identity to talk to it. And so you're using your Scott's identity at first.
So I'm going to show this in just a second, but before that, let's go through all the scenarios. This scenario, it's going to go create the resource in the cloud and use it for local run. It will then create a new one when I publish. If I do this one, now it's going to use a container for local, which means I'm not really using the Azure service. I'm using just the container again. Put on publish, I get the full thing. This one, it's going to run locally using the existing resource, but it's going to still publish one if I deploy.
Okay, kind of create if not exist.
If I switched and did maybe something like this, now I'm going to run locally in a container, but I'm going to publish to an existing instance. I'm trying to say we support.
That's awesome. That's like a sweet spot right there.
Every scenario you can think of is supported by this, and I'm just getting this.
That's kind of like a dev to prod. You also showed like a dev to dev test.
Exactly.
So the difference.
This one is run in a container locally.
Yep.
Publish to an existing one that IT's already set up and we're good to go. But I think this is part of the cool flexibility of Aspire. Is every scenario I can think of.
It's like enterprise strength. It's not just easy, right?
This is not a toy. This is real for production apps.
Yep.
And for fun here, we can just go and just flip to this, and I'll comment this out. And get us back to this state. And let's try to actually run this thing because it does some interesting things when I do this. So let's go back here. Let's make sure we're in the right one. Hope I didn't break anything with all the commenting in, commenting out. And then I'm going to show one more thing after this, Paul, and I'll let you.
Sounds good. I'm going to hold the thought. I have a question for you, too.
So this is going to be interesting because when I look at this, what is this provisioning? What's it doing? And so even though I'm running to an existing resource, you see it says the cache is already provisioned. It knows that, but it's compiling some ARM, waiting for deployment.
Cache roles. Interesting.
So remember, how do I connect to the one in the cloud?
Yeah, you need RBAC of some kind.
I need some form of identity. And so what's going on right now, notice here, the front end's waiting. And so because in my app host, there is all of this wait fors.
That's nice.
It's doing all the right stuff. So it's waiting. Now that's kicked in. In just a second, it'll notice that,
I'm sure all the people online, we've written that sleep code and that awful orchestration waiting stuff.
This CRUD's amazing.
That is cool.
And so Sadly, I should have clicked on one of those while they were running. While they were running, I could have clicked on the actual deployment,
Yep.
and it would have shown me the arm that was running.
Actually, I'm just kind of getting my head around. There's an async workflow, and there was like some kind of readiness, liveliness probe that decided it should go online.
That is correct.
That's freaking cool.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is getting.
I hadn't
If
seen that
you
before.
played with the early Aspire,
Yeah.
it was not this good. Now Aspire is this good. It's all waiting for the right stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
And that's how we do it in the actual cloud too. Like for a service, we run it the same way.
And if I come back over here, notice that it just added Scott Hunter as a Redis user here.
Perfect.
That's what was being provisioned.
Nice.
It had to go make that credential so the app could run.
No more container credential.
And if I go look at the logs here, you'll see all the stuff connected. We're good to go. We're now running as that local instance. And it just works. So I'm not using a container locally anymore. I'm actually using the one in the cloud. You saw it put the identity up there.
Yep.
I'm good to go. One more thing that's kind of cool we could show is if I go back up here, I did publish one where the entire thing is ready to go. Where's my brain frying? Demo app host, Azure app done. No, maybe I never published that one. Oh well. I want to show one final thing in this space. I showed Azure Deploy from command line. Let's go back to source.
That's a good thing for like a quick push, like casual.
.NET conf CI/CD.
Ooh, that was going to be my question. I'm glad I didn't ask it.
Let's do all the right things again here. So if you've been playing with this space for a while, we've got a couple of these things. You saw we have this new Aspire deploy, but we've always had this feature called AZD. Each of these products has different features. Like I told you before that the Aspire deploy has got a new pipeline architecture. It can actually deploy things at the same time. But AZD was something we built so you could take any sample and run it. Mm-hmm. It's got some different capabilities. The cool thing is Aspire 13 projects can be deployed both ways, with Aspire deploy and with AZD. So in this case, I'm going to use, I'll do AZD and NET. This is how we would show you how to deploy any of Aspire projects before Aspire 13. It'll scan the folder. It's going to find the Aspire stuff in there. But this enables the CI/CD scenario out of the box.
Yeah, that's huge because you got real DevOps. You want to automate things.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's going to go find my app host. Actually, it would be help if I actually went into the there. It's going to find the app host. And before, what you could do, take any Aspire project, AZD and NET, AZD up, and it goes to the cloud.
Yep.
But we've been working on a feature for a while. .NET CI/CD. Now I can do AZD. I can do AZD up, and it would publish very similar to the Aspire publish. It's not going to do that parallelism I was mentioning before. But I can also do pipeline config.
Ooh.
This is going to ask me, do I want to use GitHub or Azure DevOps? Both are supported. I'll say GitHub.
I use both a lot.
At Microsoft, we use both a lot.
Yep.
It's going to once again ask me the same types of questions. What's my subscription? It's going to ask me, it's going to say, hey, there's no Azure.YAML. Yes, add one of those. I don't have a Git repo in this because I just created the whole thing from command line, so I want a repo.
Wow.
We'll do a private repo. This is what's going to put in my personal GitHub account. And this is where it gets cool, is GitHub has to be able to talk to Azure. And so this is going to go create my user managed identity so I can actually have a secure connection between my GitHub repo and Azure, because GitHub Actions have to have the ability to publish my resources and create resources in Azure for me. So we'll say yes, create a new one.
And there's no PAT tokens. That just makes me happy.
There's no PAT tokens. Those are dangerous.
Yep. OIDC.
It's now assigning the roles. So my GitHub account can talk to my Azure account. And then when it's done, it's going to give me the choice of kicking off that pipeline. And we just added support for this capability yesterday in ACD.
That's pretty cool.
We did not have the one line of code inside of our pipeline to install .NET 10, and now it has that in there. So do that. I love this delay we get here. It's like
yeah.
Nope.
Gotta be patient.
And so if I then go up to here and I do a refresh, we'll see that it created the repo in private repo in GitHub for me.
Heck yeah.
I can click on actions. I can click into the actions going on here, look at the build. And you can see right now it's actually installing .NET 10 into my action. And this will deploy and run the whole thing. When I'm done, you'll be at a point where anybody that's in my repo, they make a commit.
Commit to deploy.
It's by default for developer, it would be commit to deploy.
Test run, that kind of stuff.
All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so you've seen all the magic behind where Aspire stores all the stuff. I should go and show one final thing here.
By the way, I've tried it. I've hooked up to an existing repo too, so it's not like you have to mint a repo. I think that's powerful.
If I go to this project and I go look at the user secrets, we'll get a little bit more stuff than we saw before. There's those two parameters. This is where I actually told it where my existing cache was. And then this is this other CRUD. So there's nothing magic. It's either in user secrets or in that deployment folder. There's no hidden stuff. You always know where stuff is. It's always put in places where it can't get checked into repos. And so I am super excited with how far Aspire's come. I mean, even from you probably saw some new stuff today.
Saw some new stuff, and
I'm
like my agent projects now. This is how I deploy.
And we should actually, I didn't really drive it. This is .NET Conf. The cool thing is this works for Python and JavaScript now too.
Cool. And
so you can take any Python project, any JavaScript project. You still have to have the app host that has the infrastructure as code, but all this publishing using CI/CD.
I think with AI and the web, we're all using a lot of languages. So it's good to know.
So what are you going to show us?
Cool. All right. So, I mean, you've been showing us a lot of things like how do I have the simplicity of Aspire, but you looked under the hood, you've got the power and the control. I'm going to continue that theme, but I'm going to apply it to kind of agents and AI. And what I really want to do is, kind of like step one, agents are powerful. And when we first think about it, you're doing prompts and you're using the large models. If you can write your instructions, you can build an agent. It'll be
I'll do my typical poke ball.
Yeah, you're going to poke me.
What the hell is an agent? Because
I knew you would do that.
We all hear this agent word all the time, and and I hear agent, and then somebody just goes, "Oh, where can I find a pet sitter in San Francisco?" And I'm like, "That's not an agent.
That's not an agent. That's a prompt. That's like single shot." But yeah, real agents, they have it's like a workflow. They have a goal, and they're going to keep going until they find it. But even then, I mean, how many things can you just solve with a model? I think what you rightly poked me is you need tools. And tools, that's the general word that we talk about, where you can poke outside of the LLM and what the model knows. You can call code. And what would you do that? You'd like get knowledge from knowledge bases, databases, that kinds of things. Call APIs. You can run logic that you couldn't do. So it's basically your big escape hatch to call real business logic.
I think if I'm in VS Code, I think of a tool being, I can say in the chat, I can say file an issue on Paul Yuk to go fix this bug.
Totally.
And that's using a tool that calls into GitHub and makes that change. Or
it's
I can
like
use the Azure MCP.
Calling a real web API.
Calls into real stuff.
Yeah.
Does stuff.
Totally. So so there's the main concept of tools, and you can call calculations, call databases. Now, right after, when was it? Like after .NET Conf last year, this thing came at us fast. There is a style of tools that just came out of nowhere, and you can poke me on this one too. Like, how did it go? You told me 1 week.
So this is a funny story. This is
Yeah.
MCP is what we're talking about.
MCP, that was right. Yeah.
I had read something on the internet about MCP, and I poked Paul and I said, "Hey, we should look into this." And then, like the next Saturday, Jay Parikh, who runs Core AI at Microsoft, sent an email to all of us
Yep.
saying, "Hey, this MCP thing, we should do something."
Yeah, it's like really taking off, and that was a week later.
And the crazy thing is, Microsoft, if .NET moves fast, Microsoft moves fast. We had MCP support in Functions in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. That was like full remote MCP.
Yes.
This is like not that standard I/O stuff. So yeah, that's pretty neat. So MCP, Model Context Protocol, it's all about, it's kind of like an easier way to bring logic and APIs and tools, to your model. And it understands models, because models, they're really good with strings, like string language content coming in, string content coming out. And you want to build up that context. You want to send a whole bunch of context from your IDE, from your files, from your knowledge base, all this kind of stuff. So Model Context Protocol is, I'd say, better than an API, because it understands and dynamically kind of understands that context.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll switch over my screen. So let's look at a repo. And this is all in the resource at the end. So we have this remote MCP functions, and I'm going to show you some different efforts we have. So first of all, C# developers, we have like if you love the functions programming model, you can do an MCP app just using the functions programming model. It's really easy. And I think if you've been using other functions, triggers, and bindings, you're going to be right at home with this one. I'll show you in a sec. And that thing is going to go GA any minute, so you can do your production workloads. Also, I'm pretty excited about this. I don't think, well, none of this existed last time we were here, but there's really great efforts. Like there's an official SDK for C# MCP. Steven and Jeff and folks on the team.
Stephen Tobe is who you're talking about.
Yes. Have all worked on it and contributed to it, but it's open source with Anthropic and others. And that's really powerful. That's the state of the art. There's a listation.
To me, that's cool. I mean, this MCP thing happens, and Microsoft is contributing with Anthropic.
Yeah.
That's the people who made MCP. The smartest minds of .NET are over there making sure the .NET MCP SDK is amazing.
So they've got an awesome SDK, and like if you want that to be your programming model instead of the functions programming model, we added a feature so that we call it self-hosting. But you can self-host that SDK and basically route traffic to your own SDK code.
Is this the thing I was playing with a few months ago with you, where I basically took one of the MCP samples, the .NET MCP sample, and was able to actually host it into Functions without making any code changes at all for the most part.
Totally.
Yes.
Yep. So you start imagine any ecosystem content out there that you love, you can just host it in a function. And then now you get our compute, you get the serverless billing, you get the crazy scale. And it's kind of on your terms.
So to me, this is really cool. What Paul's saying is, if you just have an MCP that you've written in .NET using the .NET SDK for MCPs, you can host it in Azure Functions, and you get authentication, you get scaling, you get the you only pay for when it's running.
Yep.
So you get a ton of benefits.
Should we check it out?
Show one.
Yeah. So let's go to. I got too many windows open today, Scott. I don't know what's going on here, but okay. Let's start with this one. Remote MCP Functions.net. So if we peek at the source code, it's an Azure function. We're using that as our builder. And then let's look at basically the hello world, and I'll pop it into Zen mode. You write a code function, and you basically put the functions attribute on top. And then for this context object, remember MCP is all about context, bringing it in. You decorate that with the MCP tool trigger. And that's all you have to do as a starting point to expose any function in Azure Functions as an MCP server.
And speaking of this, we know companies that have APIs that they have REST APIs they publicly exposed.
Yep.
And many of them are going to take those down.
Yes.
And they're going to convert
or at least have another head.
Their SDKs,
because those are kind of legacy.
I have talked to companies now. They think their SDK moving forward is not going to be a REST endpoint. An MCP is still a REST endpoint.
Yep. It's
going to be an MCP, not a REST endpoint.
Yeah, and so I think Anthony and Lily in the next hour, they're going to show even more. But imagine that here I have a lot of my functions code. It's HTTP. It's an HTTP API right now, like you were saying. But I can have coexisting functions now that are MCP, and I've completely modernized it. And it follows kind of the same signature. The other thing I'll just say about MCP, it's all about context. So I hate to say this, but it's going to make you a better doc writer for your code. We all like, but you're going to write in tools descriptions, and that's super important because that's how the model figures out if it should use your tool or not. So, definitely pay attention to that. Let's look at another file that's a little bit more interesting. So let's look at the snippets tool. All right, and here we're just, taking it up just a notch. So the scenario here is we want to have a snippet manager, and it's backed by storage. And I want to be able to get snippets by name, and I want to be able to take any context, let's say from VS Code or from whatever, and save it. So it's my own little gist kind of for my snippets. And you can see how easy it is because I'm just kind of wiring together the MCP tool trigger to expose this to MCP, but I'm also using the blob input bindings to shuttle data back and forth.
So you've written the Visual Studio Snippet Manager in like 10 lines of code.
Yeah, basically.
Pretty much.
Not going to brag, but it might have happened.
All right. Yours is a little cooler because you can actually talk to it in the chat window and actually have it.
Totally.
You have to show that. I hope you're going to show that.
Actually, I was about to type in func start, but for .NET Conf, I got to show. I could just say .NET run. Oh, yeah. We're at home. Let's try that. We won't worry about that just yet. I'm in the process of updating this to 10, so give me grace. We'll be there very soon. I know it's the right thing to do. So what it's doing right now, the functions runtime is standing up the server, and I guess it fell asleep while I was sitting here on the right. There we go. Every year I have to lobby for a new laptop, Scott. So, Okay, here we go. Just kidding. So think about it this way. Your function app is your MCP server. And we talked about tools. At the end of the day, each function is a tool. And if I go to VS Code has really nice support. So I can see these different servers. And I'm running my local MCP server, and I'm pointing to this function. So you can see here this endpoint completely matches the Azure function. And now if I go into the agent mode of Copilot, I always click on my little toolbox. I can see that these tools have been dynamically exposed to the agent that's living in Visual Studio Code. And I can do things like, say hello using the MCP tool. And safety first, what it's going to do is it's
going to ask you if you can actually
consent.
Can I use this tool?
Yep. That's good. We're calling rando stuff on the internet. Not that random, but I mean, it's always good to be safe. And then we could do something like, I want to remember that syntax for a function. So I'm going to highlight it here, save this snippet with name MCP starter.
So technically you just created a snippet. You basically went and grabbed some code inside of the editor, went to
the editor's my context.
Went to the chat and said, save this as foobar.
That's exactly right. And let's go to a new file, and I have it stubbed out here. I wonder if I would have remembered to put the code here. Just kidding. All right, so I'm making fun of myself. Get the snippet MCP starter. And again, we're just calling our tools. Like a model, there's no way models.
So the first one called that function, saved it into blob storage. It's going to go use the same tool and do the retrieval.
There we go. And it found it. And by the way, if you super want to keep me honest, you can see Azure, right, which is our emulator, is going nuts back here.
Yep.
All right. And then, I said get the snippet.
Yeah,
I'll add it to the file, man. Sometimes you got to give it attitude. There we go. All right. So so this gives you a feel nice inner loop feeling. Boom. It's MCP and functions. Let's fast forward a little bit. This is the Keynote version. Go see Anthony and Lily later
they'll do a deep dive on this.
For the deep dive stuff. But I'm going to go here, .NET Conf, so I can remember. So what we've done is, in that project, I did an AZD up. Love AZD. And it created a function app, and it's supporting resources. Now, year or so back, we were talking about flex consumption. That is our flagship consumption billing and serverless product for functions. It's got a couple superpowers. It's serverless billing, so you pay as you go. That's it. It's got VNet and networking features.
So all that high-end Azure networking.
All the high-end, like you don't have to. It's not reserved. Like you can use it in the base.
I was going to say you don't have to use VNets to use this tech, but a lot of our customers, for reasons, are forced to use VNets.
Yeah, over half really.
And
yeah.
they need that feature to actually.
They need it. So like we're not holding it back. It's part of every SKU now. And the last thing I'm gonna say is like Flex has crazy, ridiculous, extreme scale. And that's a bold claim. I thought today I should like try to put my money where my mouth is.
Are we going to scale the MCP?
Yeah, why don't we scale this thing, see what happens. So let's go to.
So imagine you're writing your MCP. Here's the way I think of this is like, if we have an an M365 MCP, we have hundreds of millions of users on that product. I just imagined the load that would happen if people started just going into, calling that MCP. We'd have to have some amazing tech behind the scenes to make it not fall over.
Totally.
And you're going to show us how I can take, if I write an MCP in .NET and put it in Flex Functions, I can scale it to infinite scale.
And this is my first time ever doing it, so we love risk, right? So last night, the team and I were chilling and we're thinking about cool things we could show today. We're like, let's show a load test. I'm like, oh, darn it. That was like a total nerd swipe. Now I've got to write a load tester for MCP. But 20 minutes later, we wrote a little spec and agent mode helped us crank it out. So now we've got an actual load test, and I'll skip to it. I'm going to do a .NET run. So it's a .NET 10 app. You pass in the URL. That's my real function app. Security matters. So we're going to use a function key that's stored in environment variable. You ain't going to see it. And let's do like 100 concurrent workers or clients. And if I didn't forget a step before this demo, then everything's good. So it's going to initialize all those workers. I posted the source code last night, so y'all can play with it. And
yeah, I'll share the barcode again at the end.
Yep. Okay, here we go. Starting the load test. And here we go. Requests per second. We're already over 2K. It's going to this is like a low tech thing, but it's going to refresh the console. Now let's look at here. Check that out. So the request rate is hockey sticking. Oh, we just went from 2 to 3. Look over here too, Scott. So we went from those like the cold instant state, in no time up to 31. Now it turns out we could do like up to 1,000 instances in under a minute. So it's like,
think about that. Go from 0 instances to 1,000 in under 60 seconds. That's way more than 1 a second.
Pretty ridiculous.
That is,
yeah.
And think about the technology behind the scenes, folks. That is virtual machines being booted up, running this code multiple times. New VMs per second, multiple VMs per second. That's just insane.
It's pretty awesome. So pretty excited about that. You can see like it's the real thing. It's actually, it's lame. It's calling hello world, but it's actually doing it through MCP.
And so if you have your own MCPs and you need a high scale situation, there's no better way to build your .NET MCP, host it in Azure Flex Consumption Functions.
Yep.
It's a big word, Paul.
So, thank you.
And you get this amazing scale. And then what's cool is Paul's going to show, I assume here, when the scale is over.
It's going to cool down, but it takes about a minute or two. We don't want to hang out and watch that, but I promise you it'll cool down.
So in 1 minute, he'll be back to 0 again.
Yep.
And so
you don't want to thrash, like you don't want to take away the
you don't want to go jump up and down like yo-yos, what I would say. You want to kind of, it scales down a little bit slow just to make sure that if a burst came again, it's not all the way back to 0 and has to go all the way back up again.
Now I got a couple more demos, so I'm going to fly through it, Scott. So bring your own MCP server. So let's pop over.
This is the one we said earlier. If you have a .NET MCP, you've not written an Azure function at all, you just want to go run that app directly inside of Azure Functions as an MCP. You can just do that with no code changes.
And so if you look today in the C# MCP repo, they have a lot of great samples, and one of them is this weather tool sample. This is the actual weather sample with the actual. Now we're using the C# SDK for MCP, like the actual official one.
Yep.
No functions anywhere to be seen. And it's just the regular code. And what you should be thinking about is like every feature, like look at the power you have over the deserialization. Like think of all the new features like elicitation that are getting added. Like it's all here in the SDK. And so you have no limits with this thing, no ceiling. And we're going to do a trick where we're going to configure the runtime host in our runtime host JSON. Let's make this a little bigger. And you're seeing we have this thing called a custom handler. So we've always had this feature, but we're really taking advantage of it now so that we can basically say, hey, my entry point is coming from this .NET app in this DLL, .NET isolated app. And I'm going to route traffic that comes in through 8080. I'm going to use the scale controller of functions. I'm going to use the compute layer, but I'm not going to use the runtime. I'm just going to bypass that and pass it to this DLL.
You're skipping, right?
I'm skipping.
You're basically
I'm jumping
saying,
the line.
I call the real functions endpoint, and then it calls directly into the real underlying code and kind of skips all the model binding and all the other stuff going on there.
Yes, exactly right.
So you've short-circuited the entire thing, but it means you can run any app inside of functions without having to change the source code of the app.
Yes. And
we would want you in the long run to actually change the source code of the app so your MCP is more scalable. But if you're just getting started, there's no better way to get started than this. I mean, it's like .NET. We try to make the entry points as easy as possible. You're trying to make the entry points for functions as easy as possible as well.
Now, one other feature that's been requested. So I want to use auth. I have to use auth. That's the right thing to do. I've actually, so built into functions, we've always had this key-based auth, and that's a good thing. You deploy by default, there's a key you can't just anonymously get into. I'm going to turn that off at the runtime layer, and I'm going to let the function service do the auth. And the way I'm going to do that is with built-in auth. Sometimes we call it easy auth.
Easy auth was the term we used way back in the day.
Way back in the day, but really it's built-in auth, and it's not just in functions. This is app service, functions, container apps, even logic apps, like our whole fleet.
This is one of my favorite features. This is a feature that, let's say you're an internal team at Microsoft and you want to build a website, but you only want Microsoft employees to see it. Easy auth means you just basically go and configure. It's like only people that are in this intratenant can actually hit this website. The site itself doesn't have to change any code at all. It literally is
at the gateway layer.
Somewhere above the app actually being hit, all this happens and you're just good to go. And so
totally. So like this sample shows you how to provision and deploy. And if you want to look at it later.
So let me ask a question about this. This means if I'm a company and I want only my company to be able to run the MCP,
yes,
I can host it in functions remotely.
Yes.
And with easy auth, I know that only people in my intratenant can ever call it, which means
that's right.
I've now locked it to my organization. This is exactly what most companies would want to do.
Yeah, that's exactly what this will do by default. It'll lock you in. Like you must be at least signed in with your Entra user to get in. But we have these things called scopes. So you can go even further and be like, Scott, you only should read this thing. That's it. Right? And so you can define further
Or
scopes.
my team only. You can say
your team only.
You can say not just Microsoft, only Scott's team is allowed to call this MCP because maybe it's an MCP that touches some thing that's in our organization or something like that.
Totally. And there's a lot of under the hood stuff, Scott. So you can see here that there's an MCP identity provider, and we understand PRMs, which is another whole topic. We don't do DCR, that's dynamic client registration. That's coming soon. But basically, it's going to get you going. You're going to do a real OAuth style Entra login. We pre-wired this to understand VS Code as a client, and you can do the same thing with your Foundry agent with other agentic apps you're using. You can kind of pre-auth some of those things, and then the other best practice I actually created. So let's poke here. It's a little bit of geek out. Why not? So if I look here, I can see what's making this work is I'm using a federated identity and a managed identity. So like in the past, you would create Entra apps with a service principal or certificate, which is kind of
we don't do anymore. In Microsoft, we don't do that anymore.
We don't do that anymore. That's just a masquerade over a secret that's on your disk, which can get owned.
And the problem is you don't know who all you gave access to the service principal
yeah, exactly. It gets lost, right?
It's lost.
So now we use managed identities. It's auto rotated, and that's used to fuel our Entra app. That's how I registered the Entra app. And then another kind of interesting thing is you can define the scopes, and you should spend more time with this. But that's how you would go from hey, I just have a interactive identity all the way to no, this is more restrictive. And if I were to pop even the client ID here.
So we are allowed to even do more demos or do questions. It's kind of up to us.
Oh yeah.
So
I do have one more awesome sauce demo.
Cameron said we could do it, so let's do it.
We can do it? Okay. All right, so I'm going to bail out of this part. Thanks for catching me there. All right, one last thing I want to show everyone here. And we'll be online after, right? So we'll answer questions. So we're going to go to this sample. And let's open the README and the preview. And let's make this a little bigger. I've never tried Zen mode with this. Well, that resolution's terrible, Scott.
That is terrible.
Absolutely terrible. Fail. I'll try one more time.
That is unreadable.
Oh, better.
That looks better.
Fail minus. Okay, so I want to build a real agent, okay? And my favorite thing this year, and this is honest to goodness, there's from Microsoft open source effort called Microsoft Agent Framework, and it's building on tried and true tech that's evolved through semantic kernel and autogen, and it's evolved into this 2.0 SDK, and I absolutely love it. Like for agentic development, multi-agents, agents with tools, it's like simple and powerful. So I want to build an app with that, but there's still a couple of problems that happen in the agent worlds, and one of the biggest one is like durability and resiliency. So, I mean, have you ever worked with a model that timed out or didn't return?
I've hit limits and been timed out because my main one is I hit limit, which means I'm delayed. It might say, don't call me again for 40 seconds.
Yep. And this stuff's expensive too, right? You're using tokens, time, money to run these agents. And as you can see here, I'm chaining together for a travel planner at least 3 dynamic agents, plus I need an approval, plus I have some static code. So this is a pretty sophisticated distributed application with orchestration. So like, what if I told you I could checkpoint the state at every step, every agent handoff, every tools call, that kind of a thing. That way you could actually resume if anything goes wrong.
So if one of the agents doesn't reply, I can wait. I can pause or save my state and then try again to see if the agent will return.
Exactly. So here, like, it's going to keep trying to resume with all of your agents, but you have like a human in the loop. And if you think about it, that could be a very long wait, if not forever. And you don't want to be running your compute or spending your tokens while you're waiting, right? That would be
right. So you try to book a first class flight, and at some point I have to approve it because we don't let you fly first class typically. And so
you never let me do it. So. All right, so the magic of this thing, so we're going to use Agent Framework,
okay, but
we're also going to bring in a middleware for a brand new sneak peek, probably coming out in about a day or so for everybody. It's the Durable Agent extension. So we're going to bring the power of Durable Functions. It knows how to do this checkpointing stuff, and we brought it in to extend Agent Framework. So now you can use the standard client, but you can start using durable clients. So let me show you. And by the way, I've set up the context here. I've set up tools, all the things you would have me do. But let's look at an actual orchestration. And now I'm going to show off the programming model of this thing. Here we go. Functions, orchestration. And so I would work with my agents the way that I normally would. I'm going to initialize them and set up the LLM and stuff like that. But I'm going to do very asynchronous style programming where I'm going to await a call from one agent. I'm going to await a call from another agent. You can see itinerary. And then I'm going to go all the way down. Like there's a lot of steps here, recommendations. It's going to massage the plan. It's going to save the plan. And then here's a human in the loop. Like, how do you do that, right? Yep. So it's got some hard problems like that. And using this programming model that's part of the agent extension, the durable extension, you kind of get the best of the worlds. So let's flash over to a running app.
And the source code for this is part of the barcode thing that we have?
It's part of the barcode thing.
Okay, awesome.
And you can go run this today. So Scott, you're going to take a trip, a beach vacation, but on a budget. Kinda. It's an LLM, it can handle this. 7 days, what's the budget? $8,000?
$8,000.
Yeah.
That's a nice vacation.
I wish you could do for cheaper. December 1st through the 8th, maybe, something like that. And knowing you, we need to have like a pharmacy nearby with aspirin
And a tiki bar.
and a tiki bar. Okay, there we go. So we're gonna plan it, and actually, let me get myself ready for this. You'll understand why in just a second. So here's the real resource group that's backing all the compute and the agents. And here's the function. Okay, Scott, so we're gonna kick off the orchestration, and I'm gonna do a very crude simulation of something going really wrong with the agents. And if I open developer tools, hopefully in real time.
Let's go fastball because we're running out of time. I know for sure.
I see personnel getting a little nervous. Whenever I demo, people get a little nervous. Okay. Well, anyway, it's in a bad state. I think what we're going to start to see is some failures here. But the amazing thing about this tech is
it's going to survive the failure.
It's going to, and you can start to see like the clients seeing and observing those failures. But when we restore service to it, it's going to pick up where it left off. It done some of the activities.
So you went over there and turned off some of the tech.
It turned on, yeah. And the thing, we're down to seconds, but when it resumes, it's going to ask me for human in the loop approval, and I can do that too. And the cool thing is, it wasn't billing or using tokens while it's waiting. It's just in kind of a pause state.
So while it's waiting for something that's broken out there to recover, you're just not paying for it.
You're just not paying for it.
That is super cool.
So we've added durability to Agent Framework, and you can use it in all the Azure services.
So let's go back to my laptop so we can show the VAR code again, so people can grab any of the code, any of the links that kind of explain the stuff we talked about. And I don't know, I am so excited about Aspire and being able to link CPs on functions.
Oh man.
And using Durable to make the agent framework even stronger.
It's like easy, it's powerful, like both sides of it this year.
Great time to be a .NET developer.